Evening, everybody, and welcome to our special budget council meeting. Just before we get into the nuts and bolts of this meeting, I would ask council and staff if they wish to bow their heads for a moment of silent reflection. Okay, thank you. So there really isn't anything added. We're just going to change. We have a report from Nick, so I guess that is an addition, isn't it? So there is an addition, and we're going to do that right at the start, right after pecuniary interest, and we'll deal with Nick's report, and then we'll go into the budget at that time. So with that in mind, first item of business then would be to accept the agenda as amended. Councillor Foster, Councillor Duck, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Does anybody have a conflict of interest with anything on the agenda tonight? Okay, don't see any hands going up. Okay, so as I said, the first item that we're going to deal with before we get into the budget is a report from the Director of Community Services with regards to the arena ice resurfacer water heater replacement. Nick, take it away.
Good evening, Mayor McKenzie and members of council. If you recall, last Monday, I mentioned that our ice resurfacer hot water heater at the arena had failed. It was a 1992 A.O. Smith that had reached has reached its end of life, and replacement parts are no longer available. The unit was originally planned for replacement in 2025 here, but the project was deferred with the funds being reallocated to the Fullerton Ballpark Light Standard project. Since the failure, staff have been relying on a smaller water heater meant for the dressing room showers, which isn't large enough to meet both demands. So the ice resurfacer has to be slowly filled, and then the shower temperatures are being affected. To fix the issue, staff recommend installing a new tankless hot water system. The tankless design provides on-demand hot water, is much more energy efficient, and requires very little maintenance. It will also work alongside the existing smaller heater that we're currently using to fill and run the showers, and can reinsure steady supply. We received 3 quotes for the project, with the lowest coming from Sherman Plumbing at $14,000 plus HST, including removal and installation. Funding would come from the Arena Reserve, which currently has about $400,000 available. Overall, this upgrade will restore reliable hot water to the daily operations, improve energy efficiency, and reduce maintenance costs. Staff recommend the council approve the purchase and installation of the new tankless system funded through the Arena Reserve. If you have any questions, I can answer them now.
Okay, thanks, Nick. Any questions for Nick with regards to the heater? Councillor O'Donnell?
Through the mayor, just a quick question, Nick. How soon can Sherman put that in?
Through the mayor, and talking with Sherman, he can have it ordered by tomorrow and probably there by Wednesday, is what he said.
That's soon enough for you, Phil? Okay, excellent. Okay, any other questions, Ryan?
I was just going to move it.
Okay, no
other questions.
Except that, do you want me to read the motion first, or we're good? I'll read the motion here. Yep, that the municipality of West Perth approve the purchase and installation of a replacement tankless hot water heater system for the ice resurfacer, with funding to be drawn from the Arena Reserve to cover the cost of the project. So moved by Councillor Duck, seconded by Councillor O'Donnell. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Okay, so then at this time, I will turn the meeting over to Dean, our budget chair, and we can take it from there.
Yep. Thank you, Mayor McKenzie. Good evening, council colleagues, staff, and members of the public tuning in online. As Mayor McKenzie indicated, this is a special council meeting to help us get started with the 2026 budget deliberations. So we'll jump right in with both feet here. We'll get into item 4.1, municipal budgeting 101, and I'll call upon our Treasury Department Director Wendy to start us off. Floor is yours, Wendy.
Thank you. Good evening, council. So this report basically just highlights kind of what the budget is all about. And basically, we're just looking at for information report. And in through there, we talk about some definitions about the budget, and we get into why a municipality has to have a balanced budget. We have two budgets, an operating and a capital. How we prepared the budget, and further breakdown on property taxes. And then at the end there, we talk about that our budget is made up of three budgets. We have our municipal budget, the county's budget, and the education budget. And so in this process, we're talking about the West Perth budget. So if there's anything that you would like me to elaborate or go into detail on that one, I would gladly do so.
Okay, thanks, Wendy. Colleagues, any questions for Wendy on this first report? Okay, don't see any. So the recommendation is that the Council of the Municipality of West Perth receives the Municipal Budgeting 101 report for information. Moved by Councillor Foster, second by Councillor Chessel. Any further discussion? If not, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to item 4.2, budget format report. Wendy, please.
So again, this report is written for information purposes only. It breaks down how the budget comes together through our software. This will be the third year running it, and this time it'll be all combined, the salary plan, operations, and capital. And so we're seeing a lot of the numbers roll over a lot easier this year because we're not having implementation inside when that's happening. So the budget is prepared based on the financial information return, which in short is called the FIR. And in the report, it breaks down what each department is titled and what departments fall under each of those categories. One of the items, kind of back to seeing the budget process come through with all the modules coming together, is that this year we're able to actually digest the information on the report without saying, oh, that's just because of an implementation. So now when we look at all the columns, we're able to trace them and follow them. And so each year now it'll be the same process and easier to unpack. So hopefully that makes sense. And I'll just, on the whole budget package, if you were to look, you read it from left to right, the far column being the 2026 total budget, that is the levy requirement on the report. And we'll get into that once we get into the PowerPoint and the budget itself. If there's any questions on that one, I'd take them.
Okay, thanks, Wendy. Colleagues, questions? Councillor Vank, go ahead, please.
Through you, Deputy Mayor Trentowski, I was wondering if there was an opportunity to have 2024 actuals in one of those columns as well too. Does our software allow for that?
Through the chair, yeah, definitely we can ask. It's just a matter of asking and then it being programmed and brought through. And so just if that's council's direction, then we can look into that.
Dean,
Yes,
I'd love the
go ahead.
opportunity to see an actual year, because in the format that that Wendy has laid out here, we don't have one full year of actuals to compare what we're looking to in the future. So I'd love that opportunity when I'm comparing and contrasting throughout the budget to have the 2024 year actuals alongside what we are projecting out into the future for 25 and through 2026.
if I might, Wendy, to Counselor Vink's request, how soon is your department able to put together 2024 actual numbers for expenses?
We can definitely pull the report, and just putting it on the same report would require development. So we just have to reach out to our vendor, and it might just be a matter of clicking a box. So we can report back, and if the next edition we can do it, then we'll have it there.
So will there still be some 2024 actuals like that aren't finalized yet, I guess is my question, that may pose a bit of a gray area or not necessarily?
Nope, 2024 is complete.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else with questions? So looking to the clerk, do we need a motion to Counselor Vink's point, or just simply take that as direction?
Through the chair, I think based on what we've heard, we can take that one as direction. Take it back. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Last call. If not, okay. Recommendation that the council of the municipality of West Perth receives the budget format report for information. Moved by Councillor Phelps, second by Councillor Duck. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you. Okay. Item 4.3, 2026 debt obligations. Wendy.
So this report again is for information, and it breaks down the loans that will be on the books for 2026, and there's 3 of them, being the fire hall, the fire truck, and the Henry Street Bridge. The truck matures in 2027, and the other 2 mature in 2041. We are seeing a reduction on the cash requirement, but it's more on the wastewater side because the one pumping station has been completed for August of this year. There's a recap of our annual requirement limit. And also we hold a CIBC mortgage, and that is for lands that were purchased. That is set to renew in November of 2026, so we'll renegotiate that. So yeah, your total cash requirement, I know I wrote it in the report, is 457,104. And so for the CIBC mortgage, it shows up on cash requirement, but it's offset from a reserve transfer for the Heron Business Park and economic development. So there's no levy impact on that particular loan. If there's any questions on the debt, happy to take them.
Okay, thanks, Wendy. Any questions on that? Okay, don't see anything there. So recommendation is that the Council for the Municipality of West Perth receives the 2026 debt obligations report for information. Moved by Councillor Harold, seconded by Councillor Foster. Any further discussion? Okay, if not, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you. Next item is 4.4, 2026 municipal tax levy, 1% increase. And Wendy will give us a brief overview of that.
Again, this report's for information purposes. Last year, our municipal levy was $12.1 million, so 1% increase would be 121,000. So in the report, it lays out what from 1% to 5% would look like. But essentially every 1% is another $121,000.
Okay, thank you. Anything for Wendy on that? Fairly straightforward information report. Okay, recommendation that the Council of the Municipality of West Perth receives the 2026 municipal tax levy incremental rates and values report for information. Moved by Councillor Chessel, second by Councillor Foster. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. All right, moving on to item 4.5, 2026 full-time equivalent. And this is dealing with our staffing levels. Go ahead, Wendy or Dan.
Yeah, I'll jump in here for
Councilmember Wendy. Thank you, Chair, and good evening, Council. So before Council tonight is the full-time equivalent staff report. This report has gone to executive committee in a similar motion and was recommended there to come forward to Council for approval. I do want to note that I haven't been able to find this in the report, but I think it's a very important piece of information. So you'll see in the report that it starts talking about full-time equivalent positions. And in 2025, we have 67.95 full-time equivalent positions. With the request being put forward here in 2026, we are moving up to 68.03. So again, that's 67.95 to 68.03 full-time equivalent positions. And what we're asking for from council is an additional water operator for the Environmental Services Department, as well as a seasonal day camp supervisor for the Recreation Department and some casual event bartenders for the Community Services Department. So those are the 3 positions we're looking to request for council that are new positions. And as I've mentioned, we've gone through and adjusted some of our hours based on actuals and kind of rejigged some of our part-time hours so that our full-time equivalent is I'll say a very minor increase at this time. In addition to that, we've made other minor changes into the budget just on kind of meeting per diems, et cetera, that way. So if there's any questions, we can happily answer them for council.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Questions for Dan on that report? I'll start with Councillor Phelps. Go ahead, please.
Through you, Deputy Mayor. The bartenders that we're adding, that will just be part of billing out services during an event. Then after that, when they get their total bill, so it's really not an expense, it's going to be covered.
Just some training time, probably off the hop, but I think in time it will be covered, yes.
And as far as training, they'll probably already have their smart serve, or they don't, then they're going to get it.
There'll still be employees though, but yeah, so they'll have to go through all of our required training, not just smart serve training.
Okay, any other questions for Dan on the staffing report? No, doesn't appear to be. Okay. So our recommendation reads as follows: that the council of the municipality of West Perth approve an additional operator for the Environmental Services Department and a new seasonal day camp supervisor, as well as casual event bartenders for the Community Services Department. Moved by Councillor Bink, seconded by Councillor Harold. Any further discussion? If not, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you. Moving on to item 4.6. Our 2026 development charges budgeted phase-in amount, and Wendy will lead us on that.
So in this report, we're looking for approval for the same allotment as last year, the 30 units, and then also the levy requirement for the 5%, which would be $32,602.30. Next year, or January 31st, 2027 is the last for the phase-in, and then we're at 100%. So next year you won't see this report. So if there's any questions on that, I'd be happy to take them.
Okay, thanks, Wendy. Council, any questions for Wendy on this? Nope, don't see any. All right, recommendation that the Council of the Municipality of West Perth approve maintaining the benchmark of 30 residential units for calculating development charges, and that council approve a levy requirement of $32,602.30 for the 2026 phased-in amount. Mover and seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Phelps, seconder, Councillor Foster. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Okay. All right, now we're into item 4.7, 2026 staff operating budget. I think this is where the nuts and bolts get a little bit bigger and a little bit, need a bigger wrench for these. So take it away, Wendy.
Okay, so yes, this is the nuts and bolts of this meeting. And so I like to kind of look at the operating base and how it subtracted out for us. And so there was the first attachment that was part of the report broke down, and you got to see the 1.8 million coming back into the budget. And so that's if you follow the math, we're basically reversing out capital and then reversing out any one-time operating costs, which is about $600,000. So that's how we get the start of a negative of $1.8 million. And so that was good to see that we're starting at that position. And then through the process, we're able to just basically have a 1% less being contributed to capital than last year. So staff are pretty confident that we're presenting a good budget. This year, we've gone through a few efficiencies and we'll walk through those together. So if there's any questions on the attachment, maybe it'd be best if we could take those now, and then we can dive into the PowerPoint and the particular budget. Because if there's questions on the base, it'll impact the rest. So if there's any questions on the base and how we got that number, I'd be happy to take that.
So you're referring to in our agenda package, page 22, the chart?
Yeah,
Yes, okay.
page 22.
All right. Counselors, any questions for Wendy on the figures presented on page 22 of our agenda? I'll give you about 30 seconds to have another look. Okay, I don't see any hands coming up, Wendy, so we'll move into the PowerPoint. I guess I'll ask again after the PowerPoint is over, just to see if counselors have any questions on that sheet. So go ahead, please.
Okay, so in front of council, we gave you a copy of the PowerPoint presentation, and then it follows along the department view that's included. So that'd be page 24 and 25. But they've been printed for you, so you can write on them or whatever you feel. So we're just going to kind of go through, so the numbers correlate as we go through the PowerPoint presentation. So to start with, when we looked at our overall changes, these are kind of our top items that we're seeing pressures on the budget, and we'll get into more detail in the PowerPoint presentation. But just as a highlight, your salary and wages overall is seeing an increase of $385,402. Your OPP, you're seeing an increase of $186,527. Library is going up $18,986. Conservation Authority is going down $98,291. Insurance is going up $24,629. Contracted services across corporately is going up $108 or $108,508. And then we don't have our OMPF funding yet, and we don't have our assessment. Those come later in November and December. And then we've seen either increases in revenue and decreases in expenses, adding $247,889 to the budget. And then the one-time reversals, not including the conservation, is $251,124. And that's how we're getting our increase overall of $126,748. And so we can reference this back if we need to, but each department head will go through their budget and explain kind of some changes that are happening and go from there. So we'll pass the microphone across the table as we go. So I'll do general government, which is our taxation. So this line item we haven't changed yet. It will change once we get the return roll. It will demonstrate our growth, and then it'll show up here. What is in here is a supplemental billing. So we have $329,000 in revenue from supplemental billings. So that is anything from an addition, new builds, et cetera, like that. And then we have a write-off amount, which is an expense of 100,000. And so we've kept these numbers the same. They are trending relatively close this year. The write-offs are higher though this year. And so there's no way to say who's going to know what our write-offs will be. But I would recommend keeping it at 100. It's been pretty stable, but when our biggest change is when it goes from farm to residential and then back, it changes our revenue. And so it can look high one year and low the next year. And that's where we're seeing that, but we have kept it at 100,000. And council, I'll hand it over to James.
Thank you through the chair. So the council budget, relatively fixed, relatively stable. You're seeing the increases there, and those are related mainly to IT. And that is for new devices concurrent with the new term of council that kicks off next year. So we have to plan for new devices for members of council as part of that budget. And then the other is just the cost of living adjustment for council salaries. Outside of that, we've maintained the existing budget lines that are in place currently for council, so no major changes to report on that operating budget. Happy to take any questions, so of course.
Don't see any questions at this point, James, so we'll continue.
And then back to another segment in general government, general administration. So that makes up CAO, clerk, and finance departments. So again, the base started off at 22,000. We're looking to an increase of 125,000. That increase is coming from multiple sections. We saw some reduction in revenue. So last year, actually no, this year in 25, we were notified that we'll no longer get the transitional funding, and that's for the long-term care facility as it was sold. We were getting a tax offset for that. So because it no longer is in existence, then we don't get that revenue fund. So that's where that 15,121, it was a grant. And then we increased our tax certificate revenue because we increased those fees. And then there was some reversals because of the asset management plan that was being funded through the reserves is no longer there. So we're seeing an overall reduction in revenue of 32,251. And then on the expense side, we're seeing an increase in salary and wages. And then again, the asset management is coming off. And then we also have an increase in insurance. So that's what's making up the 125, all that combined. The one-time line item, there is a $10,000 ask for reserve and long-term financial planning. And then there's an increase in retirements listed there as well. If there's any questions on those, you can take them.
Don't see any, Wendy, so we'll carry on.
And over to Chief Hunter.
Thanks, Wendy. The biggest change for our budget is the master fire plan. That comes in under the one-time. It's $37,500. The total cost of the master fire plan is $75,000. We're doing it in conjunction with Perth East, so it'd be a 50-50 split. The other one-time items in there, 2 of the tankers require tire changes as per the NFPA standard. They're about $3,000 per truck. The service level change, there's a typo there. That is a service level change of $2,000 just to cover additional repairs to the ladder truck as it ages. We seem to be spending a little bit more each year for repairs than what we've budgeted. and I'll gladly answer any questions.
Okay, thanks, Chief Hunter. Counselor Vink, go ahead, please.
Deputy Mayor Trentowski, I was wondering what a fire master plan is.
One minute, and I'll bring up the report that was presented to council. A fire master plan is a comprehensive strategic document that evaluates current fire protection services and identifies recommendations to guide the delivery of fire services over a defined period, typically 5 to 10 years. Fire master plan aligns the fire department operations with community growth, legislative responsibilities, and best practices in public safety. It was also noted in the renewal with the shared services agreement that both Perth East and West Perth would strive to complete fire master plan in 2026.
You're good, Nicholas? Okay, maybe a supplemental question for you, Chief Hunter. Is that having a master plan, is that a legislated requirement somewhere in the in the municipal act or elsewhere?
Not legislated, but definitely a recommended practice. Yes.
So it's similar to asset management and our other strategic planning instruments that we use here. So, okay, thank you.
Basically a roadmap on where we see the fire service in the next decade.
Okay, thank you. Anything else for Chief Hunter on that aspect? No? So I guess maybe one other question then is when do we have to, or when is it recommended that we have our fire master plan reorganized or have our roadmap updated?
We've never done one in West Perth, so if we go ahead and do this one in 2026, then it would become on that 10-year cycle, 8 to 10 years. You should be looking at doing it. Very similar to other master plans, your trails and recreation, things like that. But a decade is typically the standard.
Okay, thank you. CAO Hobson, go ahead.
If I may, Perth East is moving ahead with their master plan, so we think by jumping in with that, we can get some savings on it as opposed to doing this on our own without Perth East. So that's one of the reasons why you're seeing it now as well.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Last call for questions. Mayor McKenzie.
The master plan, Chief Hunter, does it cover the entire West Perth or just the Mitchell area?
It would cover the entire municipality. Knowing that we deal with 2 other municipalities for fire protection, the consultants would draw in information from those 2 municipalities so that we could compile a comprehensive report on the services that are being provided municipal-wide, regardless of which department's doing it.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else for the fire chief? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to police services.
Thank you through the chair. So for the police services budget, we factored in an 11% increase for the OPP contract. We've not received our final bill, if you will, for those services. But as per the notice that we did receive, that will be capped at the most being an 11% increase. So we await to find out what that budget will be, but we've allocated the 11% in preparation. The other small line item there you see is a $1,200 increase, and that is with respect to the administration of the OPP Detachment Board, and specifically a recommendation of that board surrounding member attendance at training conferences and events. I'll leave it there unless there's any questions from council. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, James. Any questions for James on the police services? Councillor Foster, go ahead, please.
Is the province hinting at any subsidies for the increases like they did last year at all?
We've not received any correspondence to that effect at this time beyond the notice for the 11%.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor O'Donnell and then Councillor Duck.
Through the chair, thanks, James. Last year I wrote down 4.7% increase the first year and 2.6% for the second and third year for 2025 through 2027. So I don't know if they're still in line with that percentage or.
Not to my knowledge, no. At this time, all we know is that 11% cap is the only information I've been made aware of that they're in line with. So, yeah.
You're good, Phil? Okay. Councillor Duck, go ahead.
I was just curious where we're at with the contract. I can't remember the amount of years we signed for, but if we keep seeing these increases from the OPP, how prevalent is it, or how soon is it before we start maybe looking at other forces, or is that maybe just an idea we don't want to do, but just keep on getting hit with these OPP increases? It just seems like it's costing. I'm just wondering if there's another avenue or better alternative out there possibly, and when we might explore that option.
Through the chair, don't have that off the top of my head, but bear with us a moment and see if we can't find that information for you. Thank you.
While staff is looking, I guess I can shed a bit of light on it, and perhaps Councillors Fink and Harold might be able to help me out, as well as the mayor. In previous terms of council, we've often asked this question amongst ourselves, but we invariably, the consensus of council was that the OPP in all likelihood was the best able to provide the level of service that we were looking for. I don't know if the mayor wants to weigh in on that, on what past councils have considered or not.
That's a fairly good summary. It comes up quite often, but after discussing, we usually end up in the same place.
In April of 2024, we signed a 4-year contract.
Thank you, Councillor Vink.
Councillor Duck, anything further?
Nope, that's good. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, all right. Any other questions for staff on police services? Okay, I guess I'll just point out with our arrangement that we have with the OPP, we do have call it a detachment office located here in West Perth. When you look at other nearby municipalities who contract out their police service, that's not always necessarily the case. And that maybe goes back to Mayor McKenzie's comment about when we have debated it in the past. We note that there is an OPP presence in the municipality in the form of bricks and mortar and staff during the week. So that's something to consider if this question comes up again. So any other questions on this? Okay, don't see anything. We'll move on to the next, which is protective services by law enforcement. James.
Yes, thank you through the chair. So just a small contract increase was noted here, and that's for a 2% increase, which is built into the contract that we have in place with our current provider. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
And can you give us a high level overview, James, of the hours or the coverage that the current contract offers during a typical 7-day work week?
I'd be happy to. Thank you. Yes. So our current provider is Tenant Security Services. Tenant Security provides us upwards of 20 hours of enforcement in a week. So that's our maximum level that we can have them with us. What that ultimately equates to is having a member of their team in the office partial days for 3 days a week is what we're seeing them on a typical week with us. So that's at a high level, their capacity, I would say, within the current agreement that we have with them, and happy to answer any other questions about it as well.
Colleagues, anything for James on bylaw enforcement? Nope, don't see anything. We'll move on to conservation authorities.
So for the Conservation Authority, we are estimating a 3% increase. So that's your annualization. And then with the Upper Thames, we're taking their draft 1, and it doesn't account for decisions made last week on the capital. So this could change or potentially has opportunity to change. So those are the breakdown of those numbers. So if there's any questions on those, I'm happy to take them.
Okay, thanks, Wendy. Any questions for Wendy on the Conservation Authority services? No, okay, we'll move on to building services. Matt Burns is our department director. Welcome, Matt. Go ahead.
Thank you. So as you can see, we're expecting in 2026 a bit of an increase in revenue, and that's based on what we're seeing from this year. So currently we're seeing about $100,000 over what we were seeing this time last year, and about $150,000 over the past 4 years before that. So that's how I develop the revenue for 2026. Can see that we're going to be making a good contribution to our reserve. And really the only big expense this year is cloud permit. And it's going up to 33,500. It's about an increase of $13,000. And I know I'm going to get questions, but I'm already working on it right now. So I've been in contact with cloud permit. We're trying to land at about a $3,300 increase from last year, but I haven't seen the paperwork yet. But that would be the biggest expense that we're going to experience in the building department. And I can take any questions.
All right, thanks, Matt. Any questions for Matt on his report? I guess, Matt, the trend in the building permits and the values continues to increase. Is that going for 2025? Is there any sense of what 2026 might hold in store for us, or is it too early to tell?
It's a little early to tell, but I would expect it to kind of fall this year where the permits are probably going to be down. The physical permits are going to be down a little bit. We're about 20 to 30 down from this time last year. But again, we're 100,000 more in revenue, and I expect that to continue.
Okay, thank you. Looking around the horseshoe, I don't see any questions, so I guess we'll move into animal control.
Thank you through the chair. So there are no changes for animal control budget this year. Our service provider remains in place, being the Stratford Perth Humane Society. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, James. Anything there? Fairly simple item. Okay, we'll move on to the next one, emergency measures. CAO Hobson, go ahead, or Nick, whoever.
Thank you. There'd be a small increase just from what we've seen here this year with the storm, just adding to our budget for supplies if we need them, and then as well as increasing the training slightly, just for any training that may arise this coming year. So, any questions, if you may?
All right, thanks, Nick. Anything there? Don't see anything. Okay, we'll move on. Health and safety.
So very similar from a health and safety perspective, just some small increase for supplies. And as council is aware, we are kind of moving ahead with joint health and safety with our multi-site location. So if there's any questions, we're happy to have them.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Anything for Dan on that? Don't see anything. All right, so next up is transportation, starting with roads. I believe Adam Ryan is online with us, or? Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Welcome, Adam.
Can you hear me? Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Great, thank you to the chair. Yes, for roads, so obviously increase in our wages and obviously you'll see a trend through transportation services that contracted services are also going up. So that's basically across the board for us. So you'll see that as an increase, and we will also be due for our updated OSIM report in 2026. So if there are any questions on roads, I'd be happy to take those.
All right, thanks, Adam. Don't see any questions yet, Adam, so we'll move into the next part, which is the fleet.
Thank you through the chair. Again, materials and contracted services are our increases for fleet. Again, seeing some of our fleet is aging, and we have seen increased costs for parts and service. So again, those are our concerns or our additions for fleet. So if there's any questions for that.
All right, thanks, Adam. Anything? Don't see anything. I guess the bigger questions might come on the capital side when we get to, that'll be another meeting. Moving on, gravel pits and road shop.
Yes, through the chair. We are looking at doing some crushing this year at our Hibbert gravel pit. We have a pile of recycled asphalt and concrete. So we're looking to rehab that. We'll do some crushing and some testing and try to get some usable material out of that. So that is the increase in gravel pits there. If there's any questions, I can take those.
Okay, thanks, Adam. Don't see any questions, fairly straightforward, so we'll keep moving on. We're into Mitchell Transit next.
So your contract with the Mitchell Transit is until the end of the year of next year. And so we make a $15,000 contribution to them, and that way they can have access to gas or gas tax funding. If there's any questions, we'll probably take them.
Don't see anything on that front. Wendy, go on to streetlights.
So streetlights is still to be determined, because it's an area rate, there won't be any levy impact. We're just unpacking, writing the policy and coming up with a budget for it. So to be determined in that one.
Is there a timeline on when that policy might come to council, or is it too early to say?
Soon. I would say we're just working on fine tuning it. A lot of it is just looking at the numbers and kind of working them backwards and forwards and making sure that we can present a good budget with it. And so it's taking a little extra time and to write the policy. We do have a legal review that needs to be looked at. And so I would say before capital or at the capital meeting.
Okay, thank you. Don't see any questions, so we'll move into environmental services, wastewater. So either Ryan or Adam or Wendy will lead us there.
Yeah, thank you through the chair. So nothing too significant in wastewater. Again, we will see, we're anticipating maybe some small increases to some contracted services and some maintenance, in regards to pump rebuilds and things like that, but nothing too significant for wastewater this year. So any questions on that, I can take those.
Okay, thanks, Adam. Anything for Adam on that section? And I guess one question that I have, Adam, any costs incurred in this section that'll be captured through the user rates, or will there be a requirement to go outside of that?
That's correct. They would be covered under user fee.
Okay, thank you. No questions there, so we'll move into the wastewater section of environmental services.
Sorry, I'm seeing onto water here, but same.
Yeah, that's water.
Yeah, all good. So again, much like wastewater, covered under user fees there, but nothing significant for water. Looking at same if we're needing any contracted services or maintenance services, minor increases to that, but nothing too significant. So if there's questions on that, I can take those.
Don't see anything, so we'll move on to solid waste.
Yes, so thank you through the chair. So we'll be looking to complete a landfill closure plan, and that was for the Logan landfill, as discussed in a previous council meeting. And that's going to get the ball rolling on full closure of that. So that is the increase for solid waste in 2026. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
No, looks clear at this end. Adam? I guess urban storm sewer system is next.
Yes, through the chair. Nothing significant with the storm sewer system, just transferring over some of our regular services from that were previously on roads over to storm as we get this department or this section of the department up and running. I believe last year was our first year introducing storm, so just slowly implementing more and more into storm works. So if there's any questions, we can take those.
Okay, looking around the horseshoe, I don't see anything. I guess I had one question just as observation. We have storm sewer system urban, but I'm curious to ask about where the municipal drains fit into the mix here in terms of when we budget for our road portion. Maybe that's under capital. Maybe Wendy has that answer.
It's actually under transportation, under roads. And there's been no change to that budget line item from last year.
Okay, and do you recall how much we have set aside for that?
I'm gonna look to James on that if I could.
I'm sorry, could you give me the question again?
Yes, for municipal drains, when there's municipal drain work that goes through a municipal right of way, the municipality has to pay their share. So I was just curious, I guess, to be reminded how much Wendy mentioned it, the amount allocated will remain the same as the previous years. I'm just curious where we're at with that number.
Oh, thank you so much. And it's a really good question. Timely as something that's been on my mind and a topic of discussion a lot lately, because as this group knows, we've had a significant increase in the number of drainage works being done this year or planned for in future years. When I mean significant, 6 times what we've had in the past. So at this time, our allocation does remain the same as previous years. And the reason for that is we really don't know what these projects are going to cost at this time. We're at the stage where we know they're going to happen. We've appointed engineers. They've not yet completed their reports, which, as you all know around the table, starts to set out and give us a sense of what these drains are actually going to cost. So we're at a tricky time where what we have in that number is a little under 100,000, and that's consistent with what jobs we have on the books at this time. That said, we're going to have a lot more jobs on the books coming in next year, so I would expect a significant increase to that number in future years. So a little bit of back of the napkin math there, if you will, but that's kind of where we're sitting. But I think, that's with the big caveat of be prepared for that to increase, not times 6 in the next couple of years, but times 2 for sure. Is that adequate answer?
Oh, yeah, that's very good. Thanks, James. As you mentioned, it's something that's not going to become less in the future. We can expect it to be more, just a question of how much and when. So, all right, Councillor Vink, go ahead.
Deputy Mayor Trentowski, I was wondering about this reallocation, as you mentioned in this storm system reallocation from transportation. So the transportation budget essentially didn't change, but we are moving $60,000 into this storm sewer system. So that means to me, how I'm thinking, and I just wanted this clarified, that the transportation budget is going up by that amount, somewhere that not shown on the slide deck, because we're pulling the reallocation out and putting it into environmental services, a storm sewer system. Do I understand that correctly?
Through the chair, I can take that. So yes, so that money has come out and been allocated to storm. However, like I spoke to earlier, we have seen increases to contracted services. So we had to up our budget for winter contract maintenance as well as tree services. We are still actually working through from the wind event. We're probably going to put a lot off onto next year. So we increased those budgets to cover those costs.
If I may follow up.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you, Dean. So if I go back to that slide deck, transportation roads, it says annualization 64,000. So am I understanding correctly that maybe it should be 120,000 or $130,000 if I add together the increase in wages and contracted services plus the amount that went out into the storm system, storm sewer system?
Wendy?
So transportation covers about 30 different departments within transportation. And so there's a lot of reduction in there as well. So you're not really seeing the true ins and outs of everything. Because if I look at dragging unpaved roads, there's a reduction of $15,000. So you're not necessarily seeing the line by line reduction in all those. That's just overall, there's a $60,000 increase. But it could be more like some are going higher and some are going lower. But overall, you're seeing a $60,000 increase.
Anything further, Nicholas? You're good? Okay. Counselor Foster.
What's the reason to separate urban storm sewer from transport?
In the FIR, the urban side has its own category. And so when we first created or kind of pulled apart transportation, we set it up under storm. And then as we got farther into recognizing how storm was actually being paid for and budgeted for, that change happened that we created it under environmental services. So it pulls it into the correct FIR grouping. Those are more reporting purposes for us.
Thank you.
All right. Any more questions on the roads part of the transportation budget? Counselor Bank.
I did have one, Dean, and it was backing up a little bit. I was going to wait till the end, but since you asked about transportation, so on the transportation fleet slide, if we could look at that one again for a second. So which portion of the fleet then, or could you give me some examples of what that operating cost of what fleet that is that isn't in the roads? So which fleet operating dollars is being spent there that's not transportation roads, if I could ask it like that? Maybe I roundabout asked it the right way I wanted to.
I'll look to Wendy first or Adam.
I'll maybe let Adam answer this one just because he codes everything and so he would know where he's coding things to.
Yeah, so through the chair. So for fleet specifically, like if you look at some of the line items in fleet, we're looking at a $10,000 increase to our contracted services. So that is for any repairs and maintenance needed on our fleet within West Perth. We also saw increases to insurance for operations equipment. So that has increases. Our material budget, we had to increase the materials for our fleet as well. So those are the increases that you're seeing for fleet.
Could I follow up again?
Yes, go ahead,
So what what is the transportation fleet operating expenses doing that the transportation roads operating expenses don't do? Because I guess there's more operating costs than $100,000 to drive snow plows and road graders up and down the roads. So what is the transportation fleet actually operating when it's other than, because the roads, I guess, are captured in the slide before that one.
Sorry, so
I could
can
say
you
it
repeat
one
the
more
question?
time
Yeah.
because maybe I'm not being clear. So I see a line in transportation fleet that has an operating of around $108,000. To me, that's not enough money to operate our entire fleet of road graders and snow plows and those kind of equipment. I'm going to guess that those kind of equipment, the operating expenses goes into transportation roads. So I was wondering what transportation fleet operating expenses covers.
So transportation fleet basically just covers our repairs and maintenance to the fleet.
So no gas or diesel, just repairs and maintenance.
Sorry, gas and oil, yes, they are also included as well. There was no increases to that this year.
Okay.
Wendy, go ahead.
Maybe to help out the conversation is we job cost out our equipment. And so there's a $500,000 reduction in that line item because we cost it out. So there's a 500 or $500,000 charge to other departments, being water, wastewater. Those other departments are paying for equipment. So yeah, that's why maybe it appears lower than it is because there's that charge out rate in there.
Okay, thanks, Wendy. Thanks, Adam. Any other questions on this item? Don't see anything. So I think we left off at environmental storm sewer system. And moving on to environmental EV chargers.
Yeah, through the chair, you'll see an increase of $2,500, I believe it is, or I guess just shy of 2,100 for increase of our the plan, Kalau plan for that, the chargers, which was not previously accounted for in 2025. We signed a 1-year agreement then, and then now we are moving forward with a 5-year plan at that rate there. So that's where those costs come in. None of these costs were previously accounted for up until 2025 here and moving into 26.
Okay.
Answers
Thanks.
the question or answers what's there. Sorry.
Okay, thanks, Nick. Any questions for Nick on that item? Fairly straightforward. Next item is health services cemeteries.
Thank you through the chair. Our cemetery budget remains the same as previous years. You will note the increase due to a wage distribution, and that is just allocating some roads department staff who do help with the cemetery grass maintenance, properly allocating those wages there. So that's what you're seeing for that 7,987 coming over. Otherwise, budget remains the same unless there's any questions. I'm happy to answer.
All right, thanks, James. Questions for James on that item? Don't see anything. We'll move on to slide 25, recreation and culture services, the arena. Nick.
Yeah, you'll see we've moved some funds around, reallocated them through the arena to better capture our actuals throughout the division there, or the department. And then we also reallocated funds from the arena booth line, if you will, to our actual booth department, however it works on here, just to move things around so they better show and we can capture actual costs for those different areas. If that makes sense.
Okay, thanks, Nick. Yeah, I see recreation and culture services, the booth that's on slide 33, page 11 of our handout, slide deck handout. Any questions from counselors on that? If there are any, we can always circle back. Next slide is Recreation and Culture Services, Parks.
On this slide, you'll see that we've adjusted our budget lines to better align with our actual expenditures, and we have an increase in to reflect our wages, which we've realigned kind of our wages throughout the department to better align with each department within our FMW.
So just kind of right sizing all the different lines in that budget.
Trying to readjust and account for where staff are for within the municipality.
Okay, thanks, Nick. Counselor Bank, go ahead, please.
Deputy Mayor Trentowski, I was wondering then, again, through that reallocation, where were they in the 2025 budget? That budget lines for the wages in parks.
Some of them, a lot of wages get kind of allocated towards the arena, a lot more so, and other facilities that we previously allotted wages for, and we've kind of realigned them to bring back to where the actual hours are, if that makes sense.
Right, any other questions for Nick on parks? Don't see any. We'll move ahead to the recreation programs.
Through the chair, this was kind of mentioned in the first slide with Wendy that we've added a program staff leader role to our camps throughout the summer to better help our department and staffing structure.
All right. Counselor Foster.
I was just wondering which of the three numbers is incorrect because they don't add up.
There's always got to be one slide, eh? Yeah, so your annualization should be only 47,523 to give you a budget of 188,555. I bet you that's the same number on the previous slide. Yeah, it is. So it's just a copy paste from the parks over is incorrect on the annualization on the recreation program. So again, that number should be on annualization should be 47,523. So thanks for catching that.
Okay, thanks, Alex. Thanks, Wendy. Anything else on this item? Don't see any questions. So next is the pool.
Through the chair, we worked out our schedule to better align with our services at the pool and our programs, and thus leading into a decrease in our annualization there. So we are working towards mainstreaming what we are doing up there, and by adjusting the schedule to better accommodate our programs and our staffing requirements, we were able to reduce that cost.
Okay, but as far as the level of service, that's still remains consistent, Nick?
Yes, it does.
Okay, thank you. Counselors, any questions for Nick on the swimming pool services? Don't see any. We'll move to recreation facilities next.
Through you, the chair, this one does reflect a little increase in wages, but better aligns, or sorry, we adjusted our different budget lines to reflect our actual expenditures. So this did increase slightly.
Okay, thanks, Nick. Any questions for Nick on that? Don't see any. I guess I had a question, Nick. Are you able to recall which expenditures caught your attention?
Through the chair, within the rec facilities, there's a lot of the what are they called here? Materials and supplies that have kind of crept up a little bit with the different facilities. So that is where a lot of those increases are.
Okay, thank you. No other questions there, so we'll move on to library.
Rosemary's not here tonight, but see the slide there. So annualization increase for wages and memberships, and then service level adjustment, very minor, $700 for the PCIN promotions, and just some interlibrary loan process. If there's any questions, we will likely need to report back to you on this one.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Any questions for Dan on library? Guess it's a open and shut case, so move on to other facilities. I'm allowed one bad joke per budget session, and that's it.
Similar to the previous slide that I mentioned, small increase in wages, and then again adjusting our lines to align with the actuals within that department.
Thanks, Nick. Anything there? Councillor Duck.
Just curious, what other facilities fall, or what falls under the other facilities, Nick?
Give me one sec. Sorry for that. Other facilities, which we have is this admin building, the OPP station, our Fullerton property, Dublin, and I believe that's everything. I don't think we have anything under Hibbert or Logan there, right? Correct? So those are the other facilities.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Don't see anything. So now we'll deal with the fleet portion for recreation and culture services.
Yeah, very similar. The with our fleet and our one vehicle in particular, we made some adjustments to the actual costs and the travel within the municipality. So this is partial to the reason of this, the increases here.
Okay, thank you. Councilors, any questions? Don't see any. We'll move on to the next slide. Slide 33, Recreation and Culture Services, the booth.
Through the chair, this one you'll know a significant decrease. We were still accounting for operating the Ketterson booth outside, so we removed a lot of those expenditures there and just keep everything running the inside booth alone. So that is where that change comes from. Big change between wages and purchases there.
Okay, thanks, Nick. Anything for Nick on that one? So it's just strictly dealing with the booth facility inside the arena building, okay?
Yep.
All right. Turn the page and we're into planning and development, the planning aspect. James, go ahead.
Thank you through the chair. So what you're seeing there is an increase in planning fees, and that's going to lead to some anticipated revenue increases. So that's what's making up the difference that you're seeing there for the 2026 budget. No other changes other than those changes to the planning fees.
Councilors, any questions for James on that? I guess my question, James, is that's coming from the county planning department, the change in fees?
Yes, it is. And thanks for the question. To back things up one step, a consultation process was undertaken between the county and the lower tiers. They participated to come together and have a look at the fees. And ultimately, this is coming out from the county in that review process that took place.
I guess a supplemental, is there any kind of a report coming to council in the future on that topic, or how is that going to be
Yeah.
addressed?
Thank you for the follow-up question. It will be addressed in the form of a report to council in the form of a proposed amendment to the fee bylaw. So that's how council will next see what those proposed fee changes look like. You can anticipate that to come soon.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Vink.
Deputy Mayor Chartowski, then I didn't quite understand, maybe this one, but then all of the previous ones to the beforehand. So in this one, we are including fees taken in that offset the operating expenses to come to a total budget of $21,000 on the levy. Is that what I'm understanding? And then if I went back to some of these examples like booth and pool and arena, does that then also include the user fees coming in to have a bottom line of the booth costs 38,000 after user fees or what we sell, or the pool costs $240,000 after user fees, and the same thing with the arena, and then all of the other services, water and wastewater and everything else, landfill that we went through. Am I understanding that correctly? That's after user fees then?
I'll look to Wendy to start the response.
That's correct. So your revenue sources are in here. And then any changes during the fee bylaw are impacted on this budget as well.
Follow up, Councillor Vink? No? Oh, okay, well, I guess we're allowed one. I guess, Wendy, it is, how do we, maybe to Councillor Vink's point, how do we deal with the other end of it on raising the revenue? That's a separate review and a separate bylaw then?
So we typically bring the fees and charges bylaw in September for review, and then any changes there upon approval impact this side of it. So what you're looking at is revenue less expenses to give you your total budget, and that is a levy ask if anything is on that far column. And so you can start to see how much a service costs you based on those. And so there is room for discussion if rates need to go higher or a change in service level, et cetera, et cetera. But that's how you read it, that far right-hand column that's labeled 2026 total budget. That is a levy ask on the budget. So it does include revenue and expenses to offset.
Thank you. Any other questions on the planning? Don't see any. We'll move on to economic development next.
So really the big change here, I think, is Wendy already mentioned early on, is just some property taxes for the Heron Business Park there, and as well as we're looking at bringing in some money for BRNE Industrial. Our intent there is really, I'll say, essentially marketing aspects from a industrial land sales or land promotion aspect. Those are the big changes there.
Councillor Foster, go ahead, please.
Are we anticipating land sales next year, or how do we have a profitable budget line?
That is your rents on the lands. And so
Thank you.
that offsets the expenses.
There's probably a little bit more to unpack to answer that question, but I don't think it would be an appropriate discussion item at the budget meeting at this time. But any other questions? Don't see any. we've got, so economic development, so heritage and cultures next, or Wendy, go ahead.
Actually, I wouldn't mind backing up on this one in particular because it does show negative, but it's coming from the reserve to help offset the CIBC loan payment. And so it's coming in here so that on the cash requirement, it's showing as a cash requirement. And so hopefully that helps. Yeah, okay.
And go ahead.
I can quickly say too, to answer your question, initially there on the land sales side is that we're planning for that, but you won't see anything really around that in this budget tonight. But we are hopeful to get to that point in 2026.
Your mic, Alex.
Sorry about that. It shouldn't impact budget because it has its own loan to pay off anyways.
Land sales perspective, and you'll have to have some capital investment to get to that point. So you'll see some impacts, yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Thanks, Alex. Anything further? Wendy, that's the backtrack on that item. Okay, we'll move to heritage and culture next.
Yes, thank you through the chair. The Heritage and Culture Committee budget remains the same with the change there that you're seeing is we've reallocated the funds for the Music in the Park event to the community services budget. Music in the Park is a municipally led event through the community services budget. Of course, not without a whole bunch of help from the Heritage and Culture Committee members. So that's what you're seeing there with that change. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thanks, James. Anything there on that item? Nope, don't see anything. We'll move on to community grants.
So the main thing happening here is the Ritz Villa commitment has ended, as well as council would recall that we've removed the donation policy now. Staff have kept in we've kept in about $500 for kind of one-offs here and there from donation requests. We are also proposing to bring in $5,000 at this time, and we will be seeking a little bit of direction from council on this one, but that $5,000 is geared towards funding towards the community improvement plan. So it's an arbitrary number at this point. I think when Huron East started last year, they were around this budget number as well. But I just wanted to disclose that to council that this is where that number is. If they want to see it higher or lower or anything to that aspect. So if there's any questions, happy to have them.
Okay, councillors, any questions for Dan on that? Okay, so I guess I had a question for you, Dan. Is there will there be another report or a separate discussion about the CIP, the Community Improvement Plan, or in the near future, or what does that look like?
We can certainly highlight it again. As you said earlier, this is kind of the start to the budget process. So we can make sure to highlight that again for council and to take any direction. I mean, we're happy to have any discussion tonight around that item if you'd like, or we can bring it back again.
Okay, thanks, Dan. I don't see anybody raising their hand to augment it any further, but we can bookmark it for future discussion once we get through the rest of the budget modules together. So any last call for community grant questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to Business Improvement Association.
Thank you through the chair. So the Business Improvement Area Association budget does remain the same as previous years. You'll note that in order to fund the operations for the BIA annual budget, it does require a transfer from the reserve. So in 2026, that transfer from the reserve in order to balance against would be $2,350. Following 2026, the reserve will be depleted, so there would not be additional reserve monies available to balance the BIA budget through that mechanism in future years.
Okay, thanks, James. Any questions from councillors on that? Councillor Duck.
when the BIA was here for the Poppy Lane presentation, I think they had mentioned they may need to ask for more than this year's levy request, and they hadn't in the past. Is there anything you can speak onto that, or maybe it was deemed that wasn't necessary?
No, I can speak to that. At this time, the BI has not approached council with an ask to increase the levy at this time. So given the timing with where we're at in the budget process, I would anticipate you might see that request come forward in a future year to you. But that would come forward from the BI.
Okay, thanks, James. Thanks, Ryan. Any other questions on this item? Okay, if not, we'll move to planning and development, drains.
I can speak on this one. This one is your drainage superintendent. And currently we don't have data to change, so it's staying status quo at this point.
Right, thanks, Wendy. Any questions on that? I could make another bad joke, but I've used up my quota, so we'll move on to other cash requirements.
So this slide, it just represents the debt report that was presented earlier. So on the base, you're seeing a reduction, and that's your pumping station loan has been completed in 2025. So your cash requirement is 457,104.
Okay, thanks, Wendy. Counselors, any questions on that? Like we kind of covered that earlier in the debt report. Don't see anything, so we'll move on to our last slide here. Get out the crystal ball and polish it up and talk about what's next.
So I think just to sum up the report on page 2, the right-hand column where it's negative 1,998,389. That's what you're contributing to capital currently. Last year was 1.2 million, so slightly less than what it was last year, but that is what is being, I'll say, contributed to your levy for capital. And so that'll come in the next meeting, which is in November. And we hope to bring your streetlight budget, any carrying costs from any particular loans that we might look at, the transit system. And then for capital, we're looking at bringing your reserve report, capital requests, any carry forwards from prior years, and then your 10-year capital forecast. And then December 15th, a tentative West Perth budget approval. So that'll be the mayor's budget. And then in 2026, we're hoping to find out the school board levy and then the Perth County levy. So just kind of as a little roadmap.
Right, thanks, Wendy. Counselors, any questions for Wendy on that? Don't see any questions, so thanks, staff, for your presentations and information and the preparation leading up to for same. So don't see any questions, so I'll move on to a recommendation for section 4.7, 2026 staff operating budget. Recommendation reads as follows: that the council of the municipality of West Perth receives the 2026 staff operating budget report as information. Moved by Councillor Duck, second by Councillor O'Donnell. Last call for questions, comments. Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. So that concludes the budgeting portion, and I will turn the chair back over to Mayor McKenzie.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor. So we don't have an awful lot left unless somebody has some outstanding questions, but I don't believe we have any closed session tonight. So leaves us, unless there's anything business arising, brings us down to the confirmatory bylaw. And it's bylaw 62, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of Corporation, the Municipality of West Perth, be read a first and second time. Have a mover and seconder for that. Counselor Harold, seconded by Counselor Duck. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. And then third and final, reading to bylaw 62 to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation, the Municipality of West Perth, be read a third time and finally passed. Mover and seconder, Counselor Phelps, Counselor O'Donnell. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. And then the final one, that the Council for the Municipality of West Perth adjourn the council meeting at 8:29 PM. Moved by Counselor Phelps, seconded by Counselor Fournier.